All right, so thanks for joining us for our final session in our Resiliency Skills Training Program, session number 4, looking forward. So I just want to recap what we did the last couple of times, if I can get my slides to share. Okay. Last time we went over these 5 categories of strategies. Give yourself a break, really listening, getting in touch, exploring your beliefs, and self-talk through stressful situations. So I'd like to maybe catch up on anybody who tried any of these over the last few weeks, what that was like for you.
I know that I did one of these, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been like the give yourself a break on the emotional skills. Definitely just taking more time to myself during the week, especially this past week. It's been crazy, but definitely that, and always self talk is something I really should work on. But that one's hard, I find.
That one is hard. I did, after our last conversation, we were talking about getting outside more as a break from work. And I did go through my calendar and put like green time or grass time or something weird on there to get outside, a few places here and there, but I never honored it. So I was not successful. So it's a really bad habit that I'm in, and these habits are hard to break. I mean, so I know I need to be self-compassionate in that and just recommit and try again. But I was just not successful the past couple of weeks.
I'm not gonna lie either. I did not fulfill my goal of taking more time to myself. I think with school, and I've kind of just focused on that more than anything else. So for sure though, over this break, I will definitely have some time for myself.
Yeah, there's a lot that I've had on my agenda to accomplish that I need to get done, and I keep putting on the back burner. And I think we're all pretty exhausted, particularly because of COVID. It's just everybody's just tired, and so any little extra can't seem to be for me accomplished. So I'm hoping that semester break I'll be able to complete a few things that I want to complete, but most importantly, that self-care part of it, maybe reconnecting with some yoga or something. You know, the other skills from last time, really listening, I kind of do that naturally as a counselor. So personally, it wasn't something I felt a need to work on. But other people hopefully tried that if they needed to. The rest, I was not committed. I've been tired. But that's okay. We have to be self-compassionate. But yeah, that's where we are right now. It's the type of the semester where we're just like, we have about 3 weeks left and the holidays are coming and all the assignments. It's really, really hard. But for this week's strategies, we're going to go over our last few for the series. Watching your mental diet, which it sounds like something I think I need. Expressing appreciation, breathing, which I love, breathing techniques, all about that. Finding benefits in even adversity, and creating more effective positive affirmations, which we've already kind of talked about those a couple of times, but we'll get into a deeper way of doing that. And as before, just to touch on what we're trying to do in the series, for each strategy, identify one that you want and how you're going to do that, what's making you feel a need or being drawn to that particular strategy, and setting that goal, and really outlining for yourself when will you do it and what are potential obstacles and what can you do to prevent those obstacles from helping you achieve success in that strategy that you're going and that goal that you're going to try. And then reflect on it afterward, how that went and how if you want to continue it or not. So that's kind of what we're going through with these strategies. So the first one, watch your mental diet. If you have the workbook, which a link was included in the email, but if not, I can send that to you. Just email counseling@lsus.edu for the workbook. But the first strategy for today's session is watching your mental diet. So really what that means is media use, who overdoes social media and the news media, especially since we are, what about 2, 3? How many weeks has it been since the election?
It's like 2, right?
2? Yeah, probably about 2.
Feels like a long time.
I know, it does. So, I mean, even with that, I think it's just, that's probably why we're all so exhausted is all the political stuff. So really just being mindful of how much we use it, how it impacts us emotionally, and getting in touch with that, and then what we can do to change that. So if we can really decrease our media use, it can improve so many things about us internally, all our mental health and mood. But it also helps us reconnect with the real people in our lives that are in front of us, improving those social connections. And really help you get back in touch with what's important to you instead of being so distracted. And of course, better sleep. We've talked about that a number of times, particularly if you put those devices away at least an hour before bed. But a lot of times people will look at some social media thing and get upset, and then they're laying there ruminating about something. So it doesn't help us just emotionally, for sure. So what happens internally that impacts our well-being when we're talking about media use? There's the non-fictional things, and it's not just social media. It's not just the news. It could be any other avenues in which we are exposed to stories, negative stories. Sometimes we may feel like these are potentially going to impact us in a way that maybe it won't. So for example, if you're watching the news and we hear about shootings all the time, granted, we definitely need to be careful in our worlds, in our lives. But we may worry more about something like that may be a rare occurrence, but it's sensationalized in the media. A plane crash would be another one. Those are so rare. That's why they talk about them on the news. We have wrecks every day, but we get in our cars, So really thinking about the fears and anxieties that come from what we watch that may not be likely to occur, and we worry about those things.
Miss Angie, I just want to add to this I guess it might be kind of silly, but I find myself doing that a lot when I watch like murder mysteries.
Oh, sure.
Like I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to somebody. But like the odds of it happening to me are very slim, but like I get freaked out about it and like I can't watch them anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if like when I was a kid to watch a scary movie, I'd be, looking under my bed for the monster.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same thing. And that was fiction. But sometimes we're watching real world problems.
Mhm.
And it's that probably I have friends who love those they're real murder kind of things, unsolved crimes that are obsessed with those.
Yes.
But how do you sleep when you watch that before you go to bed?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, totally. But then there's the social media part where we compare ourselves to others. So everybody's showing all their wonderful lives with their vacations and their elaborate homes. And so we end up having to deal with that negative self-comparison. And then there's that also kind of the anxiety around, if I forgot my phone at work, do I drive back to work and get it? Or do I try to suffer through a night without my phone? Less than a 24-hour period, perhaps. That fear of missing out, like it's not attached to me. I don't get to look at, am I getting any emails? Am I, is someone trying to get in touch with me? That fear of missing out is huge. And that's major anxiety provoking for some people. Even if you do like the National Day of Unplugging that we do annually, and you try to cut out something for 24 hours, the anxiety of just not knowing what's going on, what someone ate, whatever it is that they're sharing in social media, is anxiety provoking. But the comparison that we do to others, and most people present the positive aspects of their life, or they present their lives in more positive ways than is truly reality. But we can end up comparing ourselves to them, and that does contribute to our depression. So one thing for people to do here is to get in touch with that. If you find yourself looking at Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever it is, and you start feeling depressed because you're comparing yourselves to other, you're feeling sad because everybody's got some romantic partner and you're single and you feel like you're going to be alone for the rest of your life, or you feel like I can't even pay my rent right now, but everybody's going on these lavish vacations, and you really feel bad when you expose yourself to social media. We have to remind ourselves what's within our control. We don't have to look at that. So what is compelling us to keep looking at that? Getting in touch with that. But if you notice, every time you look at social media and you start feeling depressed, get in touch with that. You don't have to change anything, but get in touch with noticing how these things impact your mood and general well-being. And we've talked about the news too already, just how that impacts us. So what we can do for an exercise on this is really reflect just over the past week and make a list of what we do in a typical day of news, internet searches, social media usage, even the types of things we read. Maybe we look at our news feed and we see all the headlines. Which ones are we actually clicking on to read? Just noticing and making a log of that kind of thing. And how much time are you actually spending in a typical day? Anybody guess? I mean, I don't know if I could guess. I would need to log this really. But I know there's the thing on your phone where you can track how many hours have gone. You could do that, maybe turn that on or look at that. That might be scary. And then track along with that how you feel. Not only how you feel about your use, but how it makes you feel too when you use it. So both ways to look at that. And then in response to what you come up with in that kind of tracking, plan a mindful media day. And so what you'll need to do is schedule this sometime in the near future of when you're going to do this. And you're going to choose one day in the next week, let's say, to practice this. And throughout the day, notice how you feel before, during, and after you use any specific type of media, social media, news media, whatever it is. Just notice before, during, and after. Track and log your mood on that. And then after you do this, write about what you noticed. So you've got your log, write about it. What did you learn about how specific things make you feel? And that's really getting in touch with that. And I do think based on what you reflect on and how it makes you feel, this is where you can have a choice to make a change. Maybe there's a particular person on social media that you shouldn't follow. Maybe you should not see what they're posting if it makes you upset all the time. Maybe you can go even farther and deactivate your account. Depends on how extreme you want to go. But really to think about what changes you need to make based on how it impacts your mood. And I would say doing this regularly. We're going to do this over the next week or two, but maybe monthly or bi-monthly, something. Just really keep in touch with these things. It's not just media use, but there's a lot of other areas in our lives where we could do the same thing. Just be more mindful of how things impact us. Okay, so the next strategy, expressing appreciation. We've probably talked about kindness and gratitude and all those things and the positive psychology aspects and how those impact us. So this is specifically one of those, expressing gratitude and appreciation for others. Benefits us in so many ways. It benefits our mood, it boosts our mood, but it also helps the other person feel good, which is reciprocal. That energy, that positive energy going back and forth, it makes you feel more connected with people, which can make your relationship stronger. The science behind this, one thing I always love to talk about is oxytocin. That love, cuddle, attachment hormone, it gives that a boost, which brings us closer to others. That's the science behind these things happen. There's a hormone involved. And it truly is physiological. But there's this other thing in positive psychology research called the 5-to-1 ratio, where for every negative interaction we may have with a person, we need to make sure we have 5 positive interactions to make up for that negative. So if you have a relationship where there's just constant negativity, I mean, we might even call that a toxic relationship, depending on how often that happens. But even if it's not what you would consider a very unhealthy relationship, maybe there's a particular phase that you're going through where someone's up under a lot of stress, and maybe their tendencies to take things out on their people that they love, that impacts the relationship. I mean, we've all been there, I think. So we have to remind ourselves, if we had an argument, we need to try to figure out how to make up for that in numerous ways. And it can be expressing appreciation. It can be an apology, a sincere apology. You know, I realize you didn't intend that. I'm sorry I overreacted, that kind of thing. I know you're a good person and I didn't mean to make it sound like you're not, those kinds of things. But also just other positive interactions can be making sure that you dedicate yourself to dinner where you're not distracted by your phones. That might be a way to make up for some other negative energy in the relationship. Lots of different ways we can make sure we're trying to reconnect in positive ways. 5 positive interactions for every negative. Otherwise, that relationship can really become truly damaged. And it takes a lot more to heal than it does to hurt it, unfortunately. So we need to remind ourselves of what we need to do. If there's a time where there's a lot of stress in someone's life and it's impacting relationships, we have to make an intentional commitment to add the positive interactions to the relationship in whatever little ways we can. And then thinking about how positive psychology works, it changes our brains, the neuroplasticity. If we really can rewire our brains, if we express appreciation, if we express gratitude, if we practice kindness and complimenting people, we do that enough that we're going to start noticing more positive things in our worlds. If you tend to be more of a worrier and a catastrophizer and noticing all the negative potential things going on, that's kind of where your brain is. So if you really start intentionally making it a point to notice the positive things, eventually your brain will just start automatically noticing more positive things. So that's a really big part of just these daily practices. And it's definitely practices with our relationships can really change our brains to the point where it influences our mood and well-being overall. So one way to practice that, let's think about ways we can express that. We can tell someone how they've had a positive impact on us. So it could be a teacher, a coach, a supervisor, a colleague, something like that. You could just tell someone what you like about them or something you respect about them or admire about them. So that's kind of a compliment in that respect. You can actually just thank people for things. You don't have to thank people that often, but expressing just appreciation for them taking the time to bring you coffee. Or it could be when they realized you were busy, they took care of something for you, and you can thank them for that. So there's simple ways to express appreciation, but it's really important to be specific on what you're appreciating them for. So just something generic and superficial is maybe not deep enough. So it's really being specific. Thank you for exactly what that thing was, blank here. It means a lot to me because it shows me your care or whatever. But being specific about what that quality is or that act that they did is. And, tell them why you admire them. Don't just say, I really respect you and admire you. Say why. Because that's more genuine and it goes more deeper. It increases that connection. And it kind of increases the reciprocity of the dynamic too. You go just a little deeper. So what can you do to plan for this? Describe how you want to act this out. You may say you want to, at work, compliment 3 people next week and think about what it is you appreciate about 3 specific people that you work with or your family members. Maybe on a daily basis, you want to make it an intentional 1 family member per day for the week that you want to do this with. However you want to line this out, depending on your life. Could be school, could be work, could be family, any way. Strangers as well. But is there a particular person you want to do this with, or do you want to do it with a lot of different random people? Maybe just strangers in a store. It could be just that way, something else, or it could be not a compliment. It could be really expressing. It could be a note, maybe not verbal. It could be making little thank you cards for people in your life, however you want to do that. Lots of different ways. So the next one is the breathing part. I love this one. Just truly practicing that deep cleansing breathing. It's definitely inhaling and exhaling, long, deep inhales and exhales activates the relaxation response, and it definitely helps with anxiety and stress. But it also helps us when we're feeling those negative self-talk, inner critic kicking in, whatever it is, we can truly kind of deactivate that. And why this happens, it's really about how it carries oxygen to our brain and our bodies. It enhances our cognitive functioning, but it also increases our physical energy levels. So that's really about the oxygen really going deeper. I mentioned that relaxation response. It also triggers endorphins, which just make us feel good. It's kind of, that's part of the energizing effect. It's also part of the boost in our mood. It's a lot of just everything feels better. So I wanted to practice today a couple of different methods. There are so many. I do have a handout that I can email anyone interested with about probably 10 different breathing methods, but I don't want to take the time to do that many here. But for one example, equal breathing, also known as box breathing, is just counting in equal counts your inhale, your pause, and your exhale. So I can inhale for 4, pause for 4, exhale for 4, or I can maybe do 6, inhale for 6, pause for 6, exhale for 6. So that one has a certain impact, and the counting along with the breathing kind of helps us focus. It's kind of like counting sheep when you go to bed to try to go sleep, the counting has an impact too. The other one that's one of my favorites is alternate nostril breathing. So I'm going to kind of do that here. You'll take like your thumb and your pinky, and you'll use that, and you'll block one side with the thumb. So I'm going to block the right nostril with my thumb, and then inhale through the left nostril and hold. And I'm probably going to do this and sound nasally, but I'm going to do this. And then we're going to use the pinky to block the left and exhale through the right. And then we'll inhale through the right. And then use the thumb again to block the right and exhale through the left. So you alternate which one you're inhaling in and which one you're exhaling in. And you do that about a minute. This is really, really helpful when people are having in the middle of a panic attack, when you feel like you can't breathe. It gets people super relaxed. There's something to do with the different nervous system and the inhales and exhales and the different sides of the nose. So that's just one of the techniques. I use that a lot when people are really, really having kind of an emotional crisis and they're in the midst of it. It's very helpful.
Yeah, when I just did that, I felt like really like controlled, like my breathing. And like I used to have like bad panic attacks, and I haven't had them in a while, but a lot of what I felt was that I couldn't catch my breath, or I wasn't breathing like enough. But like when I just did that, I was like, oh, I can like I can breathe.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because I think part of panic attacks and just severe anxiety in general, that hyperventilation that comes with it. Mm-hmm. So you think about the oxygen delivery, we're not getting the oxygen to the parts of our bodies that we need it. And then you feel like you can't breathe. Yeah. And sometimes you feel like you're being choked in a way because it gets that bad. Feel like you're dying. Yeah. But what you just said, it's a sense of control. You kind of return to this sense of control. I can control my breath and my breathing. And if I can control that, I control other things too, right? Because mostly we feel powerless in this moment. So it's just a way to return to that personal control in our bodies. But hyperventilation, I mean, it does kind of cause us to choke, and that oxygen gets cut off, and then we kind of freak out about that, and the stress of the fear that comes with it. So it's a really quick, easy technique, but I use it a lot because I feel anxiety, and so I can just one deep breath helps, but specific techniques like that for about a minute are really helpful. So some way to practice that would be good, a good habit to start forming. This next strategy, benefit finding, it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a writing strategy. So learning, any kind of learning goal or growth that we got out of some negative event. So, I would call this post-traumatic growth, existential growth, that kind of thing. What positive might have come out of something very painful and negative? I think a lot of us, when we're in the painful experience, we can't see any hope or positive in that time. But over time, over the healing process, you can look back and be like, wow, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I don't want to be, or what I'm not going to tolerate in a relationship could be an example. Or we may have a personal, I don't know if I'd call it failure, but something about us that we didn't like that may have led to a situation. So maybe we procrastinated too much. We didn't turn in an assignment and we failed a class. Hopefully we learned from that not to procrastinate, or something like that. But maybe it's way more than that. Most of the time, we learn more from our failures than our successes, and it kind of makes you better for it, but not at the moment that it's happening usually. But yeah, this writing exercise, doing this certainly improves our mental health, our physical health, relieves our stress, but it actually builds confidence to know that you got through something, that you're strong, you're resilient. And it can help you see things in such a different light, including the people in your life. So it can strengthen relationships as a result. And why does this happen? It's the actual meaning we apply to our experiences, right? So in counseling, we do that too. I kind of look and listen to people tell their stories, and I'm looking for the meaning they're applying to different things, which we can change. That's pretty subjective. So if you write about these things, and I can think about maybe someone hurt me, maybe it was a relationship breakup or something like that, or a betrayal, I can focus on how horrible this person was. Don't know why I was ever in this relationship. Beat myself up for a million things. Or I can look at what I got out of that relationship, what good things came from it. And yeah, it ended, but I learned a lot from that. The growth that comes from that, the meaning we apply to these kinds of things. I could say if someone broke up with me that I have, low self-worth and nobody loves me. I'm not lovable. What's wrong with me? Or I could say, that relationship ran its course. We outgrew each other. I'm kind of glad that we're not together now because of all the growth that I had from that breakup made me a whole different person and what I want. It gave me more perspective about my life. So it's really about the meaning we get from our experiences. We have bad things that happen to us. We do. We have painful experiences and we cannot change those. So we really have to look at what lessons we have learned, what about us, how we grew that we can be proud of too, and use in the future. And that life experience really gives us more resilience when we have future setbacks too. Now I know how to get through a breakup because I know I've gotten through one before, and I might be able to get through it more quickly with less distress, or I may just end a relationship when I need to and not wait until it's really bad, or whatever lessons you learn from that. And even better, we can share those life lessons with other people too, and be kind of, supportive, of course, but maybe kind of guides and mentors for people too in those moments. But also it gives you a sense of control. when you are able to say, this is what I got out of this. I didn't control what someone else did. I didn't control that they broke up with me or what they did that made me break up with them, perhaps. But I can control going forward and the growth and the resiliency and the strength. And it actually improves our ability over time to handle those things. So just finding those growth spots in our experiences. So I'm not going to do this for the workshop, but this is something to consider for this writing exercise. Choose any experience that really has affected you deeply. It can't be just a really minor stressor like, an argument, it really needs to be something that had more of an impact on you. And you can just write freely for 10 to 15 minutes. Don't worry about grammar and punctuation or anything like that. Write about your feelings specifically and the impact that this situation had on you, both the positives and the negatives. And then really, really think about what benefits you got from that experience. Write about those benefits. How is your life better? How are you a better person for it? Have you changed in really positive ways? And remember, there's something about you that helped you get through that and gain these benefits. It's not luck. It's you. You did that. You got through that. And reflect on that. I can give you an example in my personal life. I went into counseling after I went through a divorce. That experience, I went to counseling and then I decided I wanted to go into counseling. So that's just one example. It changed my life in a lot of negative ways, but certainly a lot of positive ways too. It changed my direction in my life, where I got meaning and sense of purpose because of what I had gone through, so that's just one example. That's a big change, a big impact. And there's a lot of positive that has come out of that. So thinking about that, but the writing process, a lot will come up from our subconscious that we weren't even thinking about, and we'll get new insights. That's the best thing about writing about these challenging experiences. Plus, there's a lot of research into writing about stressful experiences, traumatic experiences. It boosts our immune system. It helps people who've been through some really, really bad things, who have, post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps. It treats the trauma response. It actually, tons of research has shown that people live longer because it has such a positive impact on the immune system. So this is really one of the most powerful things anyone can do. And I would definitely advise you to try this strategy anytime you go through anything. That's what journaling's, I guess, about too, but specifically looking at what positive and negative and how you grew and how it changed you in a positive way. And then the last strategy, creating an effective affirmation. So we, it might've been the first or second workshop in this series where we talked about finding a positive voice. So this is kind of building on that a little bit. So creating that personal mantra that you can say to yourself, and encourage yourself in these times of challenges. It definitely improves us in all the ways. A lot of these exercises improve us in our mood and our well-being, but it also helps motivate us, find motivation when we've lost it, and really help us persevere when we're kind of at a wall sometimes with our goals. And it could be a personal goal, it could be a professional goal. Maybe I feel stuck academically. Maybe I need to change my major, or maybe I don't need to change my major, but I need to get through this semester, But it can also be a personal goal that you've got, like just speaking up for myself more. I need that personal mantra when I'm trying to speak up for myself because it's a challenge. So how or why does this work? It impacts our mood, but it's also our negative self-talk really, really can cause us to give up on our goals. It can cause us to not take the necessary risks that are attached to goals. All goals have risk involved, whether that's getting a degree, going for a relationship, going for a job. There's a risk. You're vulnerable going for anything. And when that negative self-talk, we fall into that pattern of believing those negative comments that we tell ourselves, it influences our mental health in negative ways. Positive self-talk, on the other hand, it really helps us continue on our path in whatever way we need to continue moving toward our goals. And of course, that impacts our mood and our well-being. Positive affirmations that really focus on our values are really important too. So not just, I don't know, what's a simple one that doesn't have a value attached to it? I don't know. Speaking up for myself, I'm going to speak up for myself. Is there a value attached to that? I don't know. But I had a personal mantra that I worked with an energy healer on, and she kind of helped me with it. And it was, I am courageously going after what I want. And I have to say that myself over and over again, because I struggle with feelings of guilt for wanting anything and having needs. So that helped me reframe that a little bit. And the courage it takes to overcome that sense of inappropriate guilt. It was an unhealthy guilt. It was not realistic at all. So to be able to overcome that, it is okay to want things and to go after them, right? So there's a value of challenging this negative self-talk about, I have no right to deserve good things in my life. So that one really helped me overcome some of those challenges. So really building in a mantra that kind of tackles your negative self-talk. Anybody have any examples? What's your inner critic tell you all the time?
I think my inner critic is like, if it's probably you're not smart enough to do something, and because I have like a goal and I'm like, okay, it's realistic, but then there's me in the back of my head. It's like, okay, well, you have to do good on this test and you have to do good on this test. Well, you're not even doing good on this test or this class. So I kind of like beat myself up and kind of talk myself down out of it, and then I'll talk to my family about it, and they're like, no, but you're smart. And then like deep down, I'm like, but you don't know I got a C on that test. So it's kind of me just beating myself up. But in reality, I mean, I get good grades. It's just, I think of things that have put me kind of in the dumps, like in the past. And yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, and one grade does not define you.
Exactly.
Right. Especially if overall you're doing well, but it sucks because there's a fear if I make one bad grade, it could influence the whole semester.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is a realistic concern, but we can't let one little setback define us.
Yeah.
And that inner critic, yeah, that's a bad one. This is a writing exercise, but we could practice it just kind of briefly. So if you want to choose an area you want to focus on, so it could be that specific one that you're talking about, Alyssa, some kind of mantra to motivate you to keep moving forward. So writing about what you'd like to achieve, like specifically using your example. I mean, I'm sure you'd like to achieve not beating yourself up for every little setback, right?
Yeah.
So if you identify a compassionate, encouraging perspective, so that's kind of like that positive voice that we did in a different session. Like, what would your friend tell you in those moments? Obviously your family's telling you you're smart.
Mm-hmm. My friends would probably tell me, you have that next test. Why don't you prepare more for that one?
Mm-hmm.
Or that one grade, or like what you said, that one grade doesn't define your intelligence overall. Or they'd probably go back and be like, well, remember when you did this or you did that? I'm like, oh yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thinking about that kind of friendly, encouraging, realistic kind of statement or voice perspective. If you can come up with a short one sentence affirmation that's honest and authentic for who you are, focuses on your values, your strengths, your abilities. You are smart. You are capable. You are, I would say, you persevere. You don't give up. You're a fighter.
Yeah.
So you place emphasis on a behavior that you do have control over rather than traits that are fixed. So it's not a fixed trait to be a failure if you fail a test, or you may, and let's be real here, this was a C.
Yeah.
Right, not an F. But so emphasis on behavior, not character traits. So I'm strong. That's a behavior. I mean, yeah, it's a character trait too, but it defines, or it describes behavior, right? Someone who doesn't give up.
Right.
But that's also supportive and motivating. So Piper, let's help her. Let's see, what can we come up with for Alyssa here?
Help me out, please.
Let's see.
And you know what sometimes I do, Alyssa, I don't know if you do this too, but like if I do make a good grade on a test, I always think to myself, like, that test wasn't that hard, or maybe I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Even if the test was hard, I did study.
Yeah, that's kind of classic imposter syndrome statements. Like if you fail, it's because you're stupid. But if you made an A, it's because it was easier luck, right? And you're not internalizing what it took to be successful, but you're internalizing what it took to not be successful.
Yeah, I think like overconfidence scares me because I think that, oh, the universe is going to punish me because I said that test, I'm so smart. Like I got that test. And then like the next test, I'm going to vomit because I said that. Yeah. So I'm like, let me just say it was kind of easy, or I got lucky.
And part of that is cultural norms around, particularly gender norms around not wanting to appear arrogant. Or, because it is a turnoff in our culture for women to be that confident. Yeah. So kind of challenging yourself and reframing that it could be something like, I'm strong and capable and I've got this, I don't know. I wish I could come up with one like that one that lady helped me come up with, that I'm courageously going after what I want. Let's put a behavior in there. So, a behavior that you want to or need to remind yourself of. Mine was courage. I felt scared. So that the word courage was in opposition to fear. I had fear of moving forward. I felt that stuckness. I felt like I didn't have the right to do those things. So I needed the courage to overcome the fear. So, I mean, you probably have some sort of fear. We could break that down a little bit.
I think I probably just need to be like confident and that I can achieve something, and like trust that I'm, capable of doing it. And if it doesn't go the way that I want it to, we'll learn from that.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so, a mantra could be, the more I fail, the more successful I am, or something, I don't know. This is not something to do easily and quickly.
Yes.
But yeah, this would be a good writing exercise to work with that. So finding those positive affirmations. Okay, now we get to end with a very brief little meditation we're going to do. It's called The Best Possible Future. It's a visualization. We've done the meditation, the finding your inner mentor, will go to the future before. This is similar, but it's a little different. It's a little briefer. So I'm just going to ask you to kind of get in your zone, right? You can close your eyes. We're just going to do this visualization of a resilient future. And I'm going to turn some music on, if I can get my speaker going. And during this visualization, I'm just going to ask you to think optimistically. But also keep it realistic. So that you're finding that balance. Okay. So just get into a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Or if you'd rather, you can just choose a spot on the floor to look at, whatever's more comfortable for you. And take a deep, slow breath. And as you exhale, allow your body to release any tension. And if you're able to, inhale and exhale through your nose. And focus on making your breathing as smooth and even as possible. Cycling gently from inhale to exhale. Inhale, exhale. And now imagine that you're stepping into a time machine. You see a large dial before you that allows you to choose the number of years you would like to travel into the future. Take the dial in your hands and turn it to the number of years in your future that you want to visit. And as you're traveling to meet the future you're aware that your life could take many different paths that lead to many different possible futures. You're also aware that the trajectory you're taking in the time machine is to the best possible version of your future. This is an optimistic but realistic version of the future in which things have gone as well as they possibly could for you. You have pursued the things that you care about and have stretched yourself to your fullest potential. Picture the time machine arriving at your future home. Step out, walk up to the door, and knock. Your future self greets you and welcomes you in, maybe offering you something to eat or drink as you sit down together. Take a moment to notice what this older, wiser version of yourself is like. How does it feel to be in their presence? How have you grown and developed to become this person? Slowly look around as you are enjoying this visit. Look at your future home. What does it tell you about what your future self's life is like? What are their interests and how do they spend their time? Is there a question you'd like to ask your future self or a message that they have to give you? As your visit comes to an end, your future self tells you they want to give you a gift to remind you of your visit until you meet again. At the door, your future self gives you a hug and offers you a gift to take home with you. you say goodbye and step back into the time machine. As you travel back to the present, you reflect on your visit. What did you learn? How can this visit help inform how you live your life now? The time machine lands back in your current life and you step out. Gradually bring your attention back to the noises around you and your feet on the floor. Take another deep breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay, that was very brief compared to the ones we've done in the past, but just kind of giving you an idea. Maybe let's process that. What was it like to visit your future self in this brief moment?
I couldn't really see myself in the future, but like there was somebody like there. And when you said like they give you a gift, for some reason, my future self gave me a candle. I don't really know what that means, but a candle. I was like, okay, interesting. And I was trying to think of how this candle, like, I was trying to relate it to my life now. And I don't like, now I'm trying to like figure out like what it meant.
Was it a particular scent or?
No, it was a white candle.
White, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, maybe this means something.
Yeah. How far did you go? To what time frame did you choose?
I think I've tried to do like maybe like 30 years. And yeah, I was in a house. It was kind of like a cottage looking thing. And I asked myself if I was happy. And then that's when I handed myself the candle. Like, okay.
It's a white candle. I mean, that could mean something like purity or.
Yeah, I was like, And I didn't see anybody there. So I was like, Am I single? Maybe I should have asked that.
Because during the day, everybody's gone to work or whatever.
Yeah.
So did anything surprise you? I mean, sort of what you
Yeah, I
said?
think I was trying really hard to see myself, and I couldn't see my face because I wanted to see what I look like too, but I couldn't. It's probably a good thing. But
maybe so.
yeah, I guess I didn't really expect to go anywhere that quick, but I did.
Yeah, because we did this so briefly. I mean, the ones we've done before are much longer. You get more relaxed.
Mhm.
This was such a brief one.
And I think it might have to do a lot with like I'm so like I want to see my future. Like I want my future to come, and maybe that's why I was so quick to like envision it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want it so badly but can't see fully.
Yeah.
That's like frustrating.
Yeah.
Any insights or realizations?
Give me something and not say anything. Just be like, here, take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it might kind of reveal a sense of impatience, maybe.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I can think of about the candles is that my dad doesn't let me light them in the house. So I wonder if that has to do with something. Like I've never gotten to have a candle on my bedside.
Maybe it's like, here, you are in control. You have freedom.
Yeah, like
you can light this
your
candle
now.
Oh man, I'm going somewhere with this metaphor. You light your own candle.
I think that's kind of what it is.
You
like
are empowered.
You're gonna get your independence. I promise.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's something to write about.
And you know what's funny is I watched those Goop episodes last night.
You
so
did?
I'm kind of like.
Did you watch them all?
I watched like 4 of them. And a lot of them have to do with like that energy that you have and like these things that you envision and you don't know what they mean, but they actually correlate to either you or somebody else.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, they really are.
Well, what do you think if you want to use this image of your future self when things get tough for you? Can you go back to that and use that?
I think I can because, because I'm so like in tune with my future and what I want, like it's giving me like, okay, you are going to get somewhere and you're going to be happy with it. You're going to be independent. You're going to, live the life you want to live. You just have to work towards it. And maybe every once in a while, as I get closer and closer to that goal, I'll see more of what may be to come. So
Yeah, and you light your own candle.
yes, light my own candle. Maybe
Remind
that's
yourself of that.
my new mantra.
Well, there's another exercise for people to do when they are willing to do this on the moving forward aspects of this series. Thinking of something that you would like to prioritize or focus on in the next couple of months, something you want to build on, expand on, push toward, put your energy into. And it could be based on any of the exercises from this workshop series, any of these conversations that we've had, this idea of your future self, this meditation, anything that is really important to you that you want to move toward. And so let's just check out something positive we could talk about that you got out of this entire series, maybe. What do you think?
Well, I definitely haven't been that in tune with the meditations, but today I definitely have, especially because it was so brief. I think it was something that like really like I wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
And like my conscience was like, here, you need to see this for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something that's definitely going to be on my mind and something I'm going to see how it relates to my life.
Yeah, I could see where it touches on the fact that you just changed your major too.
Oh yeah, maybe.
And it's part of that is like seeing what you want to do, and you're really, it's in the moment for you right now, kind of strong. Maybe reinvigorated a little too, maybe like some new energy around that. Something negative or challenging, maybe that's let's just focus on this semester.
I mean, definitely like time management. Time in general, I've always been very like anxious about the fact that I did change my major and maybe it's going to put me back, in my mind's clock or the social clock that I have. Like it might put me back. Just time in general, I also feel like it's going really fast and like I can't really get any ground to do the things and that I really want to do and like take care of myself. So
yeah, it's interesting you say that because time, maybe I'm having the opposite feeling. This year to 2020 has been a challenging year, right? So there's a lot of challenges that we could focus on the negative, but the idea of time is so abstract, and I feel very stuck in a lot of ways because we can't really do a whole lot right now, which kind of means if you have certain plans or goals, you kind of have to put them on the back burner sometimes. But there's that frustration and patience that comes with that. But I'm also so exhausted. And so it's so abstract, the idea of time. Like, what am I going to do? But I keep running out of time and I'm too tired to accomplish all the things that I need to accomplish day to day, much less life goals. So if I try to think about what's positive, we're here, we're healthy, I'm thinking 2020. I think for this workshop series, the feeling of just connecting with others and we're all in the struggle together.
Yes.
That's a relieving feeling that makes it not feel so isolating and alone, Okay, so now how about the beginning of a new idea or practice, maybe that you either got out of this workshop or just in general where you are?
Well, I'm definitely going to start trying to not beat myself up about things and really just kind of be positive and take out the good versus the bad in things. Because overall, I think that kind of ties into self-care too. I mean, I have to really boost myself up if I really want to take care of myself.
Totally, yeah. I think for me, I've kind of fallen off the wagon of self-care in terms of, so I want to return to some yoga practice, but something new, a new idea or new practice. We're going to be starting biofeedback here. We're kind of doing that. And so I'm hoping that that's going to help me reinvigorate some of my own self-care, but also with what we do in our work here in the office and with our students. But I'm wondering how I can apply that to myself more, like you know, with essential oils and the energy and how meditation impacts us physiologically. So I think I want to apply that to myself more too. I want to do this for others, but I need to do it for myself first. So that might be a way to reframe like a new idea of how I do things, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, apply it to myself first. Well, that is it for our workshop series. If anybody needs any of the materials or any questions about it, counseling@lsus.edu is where it's at. We'll put this on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching it now, that's probably where you're watching it from. All right. Well, thanks for contributing to the conversation, Alyssa.
Anytime.
All right. See you later.